Well, the Trump administration wiping out federal guidelines on transgender restrooms and facilities for schools all across the country, set by the previous administration. The Departments of Education and Justice revoking those rules, saying they'll leave it to the states probably to decide how to handle this issue.
This is very consistent with a president who has promised to bring power back to the states. That which is not reserved to the federal government belongs to the states.
Brett Baer is anchor of Special Report. All right, Brett, this is just one of many executive actions by the administration. I want to read a little bit of this just so people know what we're talking about. They said last night in this document they decided to withdraw and rescind the guidance documents in order to further and more completely consider the legal issues involved, and also added this withdrawal does not leave students without protections from discrimination, bullying, or harassment. The Department of Education Office for Civil Rights will continue its duty under law to hear all claims of discrimination. I mean, Brett, this is something we've been waiting on. Now we have it.
Yeah, basically the Trump administration is saying to schools around the nation, and specifically a message to the Supreme Court ahead of this transgender case out of Virginia, that this administration does not side with the memos sent out by President Obama's administration, guidelines to schools saying that transgender students should be able to choose the bathroom they use by their gender identity as they see it, not by the sex on their birth certificate. And that guideline was a federal guideline that was sent out in memos by the Obama administration. The Trump administration is saying they had to get on the board here before this case from Virginia goes to the Supreme Court. And they had to say that this administration sides with states and local communities to make that decision. And it's not a federal decision based on what they see until the law is completely litigated through the courts, namely this Supreme Court case. Yeah, and that case is set for the end of March, so it's right upon us. And if it's going to be withdrawn from the calendar, or if the parties are going to come to some other understanding, that's got to happen soon. Meantime, we're also waiting on an executive order, we understand, maybe into next week, on the immigration and travel ban. There have been some discussions about what may change about it. And Stephen Miller, you know, one of the top policy advisors to the president over there, said this, that it will be fully responsive to the courts. They know they have to draw up something that's going to be bulletproof because a number of groups have already said, yes, we have our litigation ready and drafted, and we'll file it as soon as we get the new order. Yeah, and I think that you're going to see, I said last night on the panel, a cleanup on aisle 2 on executive order, the first rollout, and that this will be bulletproof in the courts. And I assume that they're going to take back that challenge once this new executive order is going to be rolled out. It didn't seem like President Trump was ready to stop that fight on the first one, but now that the second one is coming out, likely Monday, you're going to see this effort to kind of change the focus. Listen, it could have been done this way to begin with. It could have been all the agencies and everyone involved briefed beforehand, but we've gone through how that rollout maybe did not go as they planned. All right, also next week, the president is going to have this joint address to Congress, something like we see with the State of the Union. But obviously, we know that message will be going beyond that room into the rest of America. What do you think will be his message, or what would you like to see on that night? Well, not for what I would like to see, but for what I hear from the Trump administration is that they're going to lay out these priorities, say what they've done, and also what they're going to be doing. Remember, you have some big ticket things that are going to happen very soon, Shannon. The tax reform rollout. Eventually, you're going to get kind of a blueprint on how infrastructure is going to work. These are big things. Not only that, but the Obamacare replacement is expected to be rolled out in coming days, and that will probably be a focus. I would imagine the tone is more optimistic, and you know, he got criticized for being not as optimistic in the inaugural, but it was plain spoken and very Trump the candidate. Now Trump the president is going to lay out his agenda, I would assume, much like many State of the Unions. I think it's going to be really interesting, too. You and I always cover this in Washington, that the people who are not supposed to go and save seats, members of Congress, always do it, though, many of them, because they want that aisle seat so they can shake the president's hand. It'll be interesting to see if they do that with President Trump and kind of what the crowd mood and reaction is to him in that room. That's right. As he gives the speech. All right, Brett, we'll see you at 6 o'clock Jackson
tonight.
Lee, I guarantee she'll be there.
You know what? I'm going to watch for her because she is one of the offenders on that no reserve seats rule every single time. All right, we'll see you at 6, Brett. Thank you.
Bye, Shannon.